My Diabetes Story. Dana Greenberg was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 1972 at the age of 7 and is now the proud mom of 3 children. 13 years ago, her youngest daughter Marley was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Dana is now a volunteer and advocate for multiple diabetes organizations. Marley Greenberg was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 8. She attends the University of Toronto, where she's specializing in health studies. In her first year of university, Greenberg co-founded the first Canadian chapter of the College Diabetes Network and currently acts as president of the chapter. She is particularly passionate about work relating to peer support, patient partnership, policy, and diabetes advocacy.
Hi, I'm Dana Greenberg.
And I'm Marley Greenberg.
I have been living with type 1 diabetes for almost 50 years now, 49 years to be exact. Wow, insulin has been around only twice as long as my diabetes has. I was diagnosed back in 1972 when I was just 7 years old. Back in the dinosaur ages of diabetes management. Things have changed so much since then. Back then, there was not even disposable syringes. I remember my mother, your grandmother, having to boil the glass syringes to sterilize them every week. I remember that was her Friday afternoon job to do. And she'd have to sharpen the needles that went to the glass syringes. Eventually, advancements, we had disposable, sharp needle tips to administer the insulin. And then, of course, as things progressed, we had disposable syringes and insulin pens and insulin pumps that we have now. And even the diabetes management, it was so different back then. There was no such thing as blood testing or home blood testing. So we were able to, only thing we could do was test our urine to see if our kidneys have been spilling sugar or not. And my bathroom back then really looked like a chemistry lab. I would have test tubes lined up in the bathroom with a dropper and Clinitest tablets and the Dixie cups to pee in and to mix it all together to see, hey, are my kidneys spilling sugar or not? And their advancements have taken us on to dipsticks for urine testing. And then, of course, blood testings came, I think, in the 1980s. And there's been so many advancements even since then. Now we have continuous glucose monitors, flash glucose monitors, and huge advancements in blood testers as well. Back then, we had to use so much more blood to test our blood sugars than we do now, and how long it would take. Now we've made such progress in the 49 years. But most importantly, we are here to celebrate insulin, discovered right here in Toronto, where we live, Marley, 100 years ago. Marley, did you know that back when I was a kid, the name of my insulin was called Toronto insulin? It's pretty cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah, makes us kind of proud Torontonians. And even when I first started taking insulin, it was made from beef, and then I think pork and beef. And now we have synthetic insulins with fast-acting, faster-acting, medium, and long-acting insulins. But the most important thing of all is that we do have insulin. And I am so, so grateful to insulin for so many reasons. First, obviously, it's kept me alive these 49 years. It's allowed me to live my life, enjoy my life, even though it's come with a lot of its challenges with type 1 diabetes. I could travel, I worked, but the most important thing, the thing that I'm truly grateful for, what insulin has given me, is, let me show you. These 3 kids, amazing kids right here. And insulin allowed me to have 3 healthy pregnancies, and also allowed me to watch my children grow into these amazing young adults that they are. And nobody could ask for anything more than that. But unfortunately, the worst day for me of living with type 1 diabetes was 13 years ago, when Marley, my youngest, my baby, was also diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was devastated. I don't have to explain it to all the parents out there whose own children were diagnosed, what that feels like. And it's hard and it's tough. And let me tell you, for me, it was so much harder to be a mom of a type 1, knowing what Marley has to go through, what her life is going to be like, and the challenges she has to face, than being a type 1 myself. But the day that you, Marley, was diagnosed also had its silver lining. I now had someone who was by my side, who understood what I was living with. And it is so, so important for every person living with diabetes to have that diabetes support, to be able to share the diabetes roller coaster with other people who get it. That's why I have always tried to provide the support for Marley and to other families living with diabetes. Marley, why don't you tell your story from here?
So I've been on this diabetes roller coaster since I was 8 years old. So it's been 13 years now. And I've been in a unique situation because I wasn't on the roller coaster by myself. I've always had my mom for support, as a role model, and someone to understand what I'm going through. And that's really helped me live well with diabetes. And growing up, I realized that other people didn't have this. And now, as a student at the University of Toronto, I wanted to help other students have that support. So I co-founded the first Canadian chapter of the College Diabetes Network, which is an organization dedicated to providing young adults with peer support. So now we get together and we chat about life with diabetes, about life in general. And there's something really beautiful about getting so many people with diabetes together in a room in the place where insulin was born, walking around campus, seeing pictures of Banting and Best, and knowing that insulin was discovered right here in Toronto. And this support really helps deal with the mental aspect of diabetes. It can be overlooked. People think about the needles and the blood tests, but the 24/7 management can be really exhausting. And especially for young adults, it's so nice to get to know other people who understand what it's like to live with this condition. So today I want to celebrate insulin, and I'd also like to celebrate support and understanding from other people with diabetes. Having buddies like my mom is so crucial to living a full life with diabetes. And so I encourage anyone with diabetes to go and see if you can find some buddies. And one other thing that has really helped me in my own diabetes journey has been looking for outlets and ways to find a voice. Growing up, I volunteered for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, specifically with regards to their advocacy. So I would lobby members of parliament, both in Canada and also in the US, for increased funding for diabetes research. And through this advocacy, I felt like my diabetes could be a positive thing, like I could help instigate change. And now I've also found a voice through Diabetes Action Canada. My mom and I both work as patient partners for Diabetes Action Canada, where we get to lend our voices and our lived experience to diabetes research projects. And this is so empowering for people with diabetes to be able to move research forward and make sure it's on a track where it will help the people living with this condition. In a sense, you get to regain some of the control that diabetes tends to take away. The day-to-day is so volatile, it can be very tiring, but it feels worth it when you get to put it towards something beneficial, something that you know will help other people living with this disease. So I'd also like to celebrate helping people with diabetes find a voice and sharing our stories. Thank you today for listening to our stories and for listening to our voices every day.
Yes, and getting back to the celebration of insulin, we are both so grateful. Kept me alive, keeps Marley alive, keeps all those living with diabetes alive. And thank you to Banting and Best and everybody who's come after them, who have continued their research into insulin and keep on developing insulin and new insulin. And so thank you for allowing us to live our sometimes challenging, but our fullest lives with insulin. And to all of the doctors and scientists and researchers out there, thank you for what you do. Please keep inquiring, questioning, thinking outside of the box, continue researching, because now we are celebrating 100 years of the discovery of insulin. Can you just imagine? I want to celebrate with you guys the discovery of the cure for diabetes. Now, that would be a great celebration.